welcome along to Championship Drill and what will be our final show on the World Cup. We may have a special show at some stage as well, but until then, we're going to go through the World Cup, not talk too much about third, fourth place playoff because it's a game that doesn't matter that much. But what a final we had, and there's a lot to talk about in the final. And trying to unpack all of that is nuts. We're also going to have, maybe we can think of our goal of the tournament, maybe a few standout players, and we'll pick our team of the tournament each as well. So yeah, I suppose start quickly with yesterday. I suppose not much to say about it really. Croatia beat Morocco.
Yeah, the first half was good. Second half was dire. I don't want to use the word dire, but it was borderline. It wasn't very good.
No,
we knew that before we even went into it. We knew what we were getting.
Yeah, exactly.
I was surprised by the lineups. I thought they'd give other lads a chance.
Yeah, they usually do, don't they, in that one? It's a strange one. It really is. So what I would say, really, then is not much more to say about that. Croatia finished third in the World Cup again. I think that's the third time they finished third in the World Cup.
Yeah, and the thing that came out afterwards is Modric is going to continue playing from.
The thing is, you're 18 months from the European Championships.
Yeah.
You know? You're not that far away from it.
No, not really, no.
So that's kind of the way it is, I guess.
I suppose that'll be his last performance. Where is the next Euros? I'm just curious.
Where is it indeed? Is it Spain? I can't. No, Germany, is it?
2024. Euro 2024. Germany, yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious. I wasn't sure where I was.
Yeah. So I suppose on to the final, and it was a mad final in some ways.
Yeah, you know what? It was typical of this World Cup. The first half was script and drab, and then all shit hit in the second half.
Now, when we talked about the build-up to this final, one of the things we talked about is Di Maria. We were like, he hasn't played much this World Cup, but you just had a feeling he could do something against France, just the way that the French team is at the back. Yeah. Obviously, the Argentinian manager is a fan of our podcast. He was listening to us.
Yeah.
And he put Di Maria in from the start, and he had a huge impact in that first half.
But he played him in the left.
Played him on the left rather than well. I suppose Messi likes to play on the right. We talked about that maybe if he brought in Di Maria, would he move Messi or would he move Di Maria from the right? But I thought he was really strong.
Yeah. No, he was phenomenal in the first half.
Brilliant. I mean, I think tad lucky to get the penalty.
Yeah, I thought it was a dive. It looked really iffy.
There's a tiny bit of contact, but he goes down very, very easily, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I would have said no penalty, but again...
Me too. He was looking for that, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot of borderline decisions that we'll get to, but...
Yeah, and I think there's been a lot of them this World Cup.
And there should have been a red card in this game as well.
Absolutely, and I cannot understand why it isn't one, and we'll get to that later on, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think it was crazy. I really do. I can't believe it wasn't a red card, but there you go. In fact, I think there should have been a few red cards in this game.
Yeah, no, there was a few dodgy straining tackles that were very...
Also, I think Fernandez, who was booked early on for Argentina, very lucky he wasn't sent off, because I think he put in about another 3 or 4 fouls after he was booked. All of them could have been a second yellow card.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think Argentina were very lucky that way. I think they've been officiated very weirdly throughout the whole tournament. I think they've got an awful lot of favourable calls their way. And sometimes that can happen, I suppose, when you've one of the best players of all time playing for you. Sometimes referees get a bit intimidated by that.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
I'm not suggesting there's like mad corruption or anything like that.
Oh, no.
It's just, it can be intimidating. You used to have it in the Premier League with Alex Ferguson. You know, referees would often be afraid to give something against United at Old Trafford.
Big time.
What's the story long time.
What's the story with the refs? Because I thought it was a different fella supposed to be refereeing you.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there.
That wasn't the ref that was down 2 days ago for this match.
No, this
We
was
had
the
a
guy that
Polish
probably.
referee. We had a Polish referee for this one.
Yeah.
Um,
I thought the ref was okay. A couple of decisions I think he got wrong. Like I said, there could have been a few sendings off, but I thought he was okay. But I think, again, a lot of the 50-50s went Argentina's way. And I thought it was a very dubious penalty. I honestly thought VAR were going to have the ref go and check that.
oh yeah,
But it's one of those where there is contact, so it's kind of hard to overturn once the ref gives it. I think if the ref doesn't give it, they also, VAR says no penalty at the same as well. I think they were just going to go along with the ref there. Tough one. But whatever about the first goal, second goal was something else. Beautiful move. Messi involved in it. Wonderful touch from Messi to set the counter attack on the way. And then Alexis McAllister, who for me, forget about Mbappe, forget about Messi, he was up there with man of the match.
Yeah.
For me,
His
he
energy.
had an outstanding game.
Where he was running and he was everywhere. He was everywhere.
Unbelievable game I thought he had.
They were telling a story about his family in Dublin were like
celebrating. Yeah, as we all know, there's a lot of Argentinians who are descended from Ireland during the famine and that. An awful lot of Irish, everyone knows the Irish went to like Scotland and Liverpool and, Boston, New York. But an awful lot of Irish went to Argentina, which makes a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense in some ways because of the language barrier, but it was very Catholic country. It was very farming country, very rural country. So it made a lot of sense that would be somewhere the Irish would go.
Yeah.
And I remember doing an article years ago for a newspaper on hurling in Argentina and how hurling was a massive sport in Argentina for such a long time, even being reported in like national press and that there for the longest time. So yeah, big Irish connection there. So not surprised that someone on the team has an Irish connection back along the line. There you go.
He's going to be really on the radar now for someone to buy.
Especially when you're at a club like Brighton, who are not the richest club in the world.
I know it might not happen in January, but definitely come the summertime.
But I mean, if someone offers Brighton 50, 60 million for him, it's going to be hard to turn that down.
I'd say they'd be hard to turn that down. And also they have the other guy, Cascado. So their both midfielders could be leaving.
Yeah. But I do think McAllister was kind of starting to get on the radar a little bit because he is their leading goal scorer this season. Yeah. But he's had a great World Cup. And I thought he was brilliant in the final. I really did.
And he's still only 21.
Yeah, and he set up the goal for Di Maria, who took it really, really well, it has to be said. You could see how much it meant to him too. He was in tears after he scored. And then nothing happened, essentially, for about 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to, because people out there are putting it off as this is the greatest match they've ever seen. But
no, I don't think. I think it was from about 80 minutes until penalties.
Yeah,
it was brilliant.
Yeah.
But the first 80 minutes were dire.
France didn't even have a shot on goal until they got to 10.
And I think it's the excitement of the comeback. So I'm with you. I think anyone who says this was a brilliant, brilliant final, I can agree with you to a point. I think the last 10 minutes and extra time were very exciting.
Yeah. And the first 5 minutes were okay as well.
Yeah, but the first 80 minutes were pretty dreadful. From the Di Maria goal to the 80 minutes especially.
Yeah.
That like 45 minutes or whatever it was, that was awful.
Yeah, no, it wasn't great.
There was hardly a save made by either goalkeeper. There wasn't a lot going on.
France didn't have an actual shot at even off target. Nothing,
no shots at all. I think the stat came up on about 74 minutes. They didn't have one. And then I think Mbappe fired one over and someone headed one wide.
Yeah.
And suddenly they started playing a little bit. And then, kind of out of nothing, Mbappe got in behind Otamendi, who pulled him back. Penalty. I think this one definitely was a penalty. But I have no idea how he isn't sent off. Yeah. Mbappe is literally about to score. He's through on goal.
He's the last man.
The rule, as far as I'm aware, is if you just deny a goal scoring opportunity, the only caveat being if it's a genuine attempt to play the ball, you get a yellow card as opposed to a red. So if you're genuinely trying to tackle someone and they beat you with a bit of skill and you bring them down in the box, penalty yellow card instead of penalty red. Yeah. But pulling someone back is not a genuine attempt to play the ball.
No, he clearly caught his arm. Yeah, we see red.
I have no idea how it's not a red card. I really don't. And I'd love for the referee to explain why it's not a red card. And it's something I didn't see the whatever. I don't know what broadcast you were watching, but the one I was on, nobody seemed to mention it.
RT, I was on.
Did they mention it at all?
Not really, no.
Yeah, I thought it was really bizarre.
Even afterwards, because I was watching
Yeah,
David Duff and stuff, they were just saying it was just a penalty and that was it.
yeah, I don't understand that because it's Mbappe. You saw what he did for his second goal.
Yeah,
He is literally about to score a goal.
yeah.
You know, yeah.
Uh,
Anyway,
and they could have changed the game, to be fair.
it would have absolutely changed the game. So anyway, so that's 80 minutes. Mbappe steps up. Really good penalty, I thought,
Yeah,
because Martinez is good at saving them.
yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful strike into corner. Martinez gets a hand to it. And then, what, a minute later, the ball, Thuram plays the ball forward. Mbappe is in behind him again. And what a strike that was.
That's my favorite goal of the match.
Yeah, I think it might be my favorite goal of the tournament. I thought it was just, with the pressure and everything on it,
Yeah, it's like a man dragging a team by the scruff of the neck.
he really was. It was just, he decided, I'm going to bring France back into this. And I think it's kind of fitting because we saw maybe the end of Messi in the world stage in a big tournament.
Yeah.
I'm sure 39 at the next World Cup. I don't think he's going to be there. Never say never, I suppose, but I think it would be a bit ridiculous for him to do that. The issue though is, like, we saw what Mbappe did for France, and the thing is the way these things go in cycles, and they talk about how Messi might be the greatest player of all time now.
Yeah,
Like, Mbappe is only 24, and that was his second World Cup final.
yeah, and he also now has the most goals in a final ever.
Yeah, I mean, Messi might be the world's greatest player for the next 6 or 7 years before Mbappe or Haaland become the greatest player of all time.
Mbappe in 4 years' time is going to be scary.
It's going to be frightening. It really is.
Yeah, it's the
And think
record.
of what he's done. Now, people will say, "Oh yeah, but he's in a silly league in France and whatever." He might be, but his goal scoring record is phenomenal. Plus, I think Kylian Mbappe leaves PSG this summer,
Yeah, you think he would? She needs to go somewhere.
and the reason I think that is, everyone was talking about this new deal he signed. It was only a 2 year contract.
Yeah,
He's out of contract the end of next season.
yeah.
So PSG have him for one more year. This summer is when they're going to have to cash in on him. Now, who can afford him? I don't know. Hopefully not Man City, because Mbappe and Haaland up front would be ridiculous.
Real Madrid.
And they might as well just not play the Premier League anymore.
Madrid want him.
Can Real Madrid go for him, given what the president said about him and calling him a traitor and all that kind of nonsense?
I know, yeah.
He might have burnt his bridges with Real Madrid. And I don't know who else can afford him, to be honest, outside of those two clubs.
No,
No, Newcastle. I mean, weirder things have happened, but I doubt
they'd
it.
have to be in the Champions League in the summer if
Yeah.
that was the case.
Weirder things have happened, but I doubt it. Probably going to just end up at Arsenal. Wishful thinking, maybe. But yeah, I think he does need to get out of PSG if he really wants to compete with, like, Messi's and Ronaldo's to be considered one of the best of all time. Pele, Maradona.
Yeah.
But yeah, so France then with Mbappe second, and then we're headed to extra time. And you think going into extra time, France are going to win it because they were just on top.
Yeah, they were battering them. Yeah, no, you're right. I thought so.
And then Argentina turn it on again.
Yeah.
And they looked like they were going to score in that first half of extra time. They had a few good chances. There was a lot of chances for both teams. And then kind of a break out of nothing. A shot that I think Lloris should have done better with.
It almost hit him in the face, though, didn't it?
Yeah. And Messi is there to knock it in, and they clear it, and the referee says it was over the line, and we checked them for an offside. It was very tight, I have to say. He was onside, but it was really, really tight.
It was close. He definitely.
I mean, you're talking about, half a second later. If that pass goes half a second later, he's offside.
Yeah.
But very tight. He wasn't offside though. He hits the shot, like I said, hits Lloris kind of in the face, who should have done better with it. Messi's there to tap it in from about 3 yards out. I thought some of the commentary on it was a bit ridiculous, talking about how great it was for Messi.
Which one are you on?
I was watching it on the BBC.
Oh yeah.
They went a little bit over the top for that Argentina goal and Messi. Like, yes, Messi had a part in the build-up. Messi had a good game, very good game, in fact. But it was a tapping from 3 yards out. It wasn't the greatest goal he's ever scored in his career. Most important, maybe, but not the greatest.
And then the next thing as well, I don't think it was a penalty. for
it
the
was a
strike
very harsh penalty, I thought.
was.
But
But then again, though, he shouldn't have been on the pitch either. The guy that
no,
had,
Otamendi should have been off at that stage.
yeah,
You also can't stick your hand in the air like that.
yeah,
Like I agree with you. I think it's harsh because the ball's traveling at such speed.
yeah,
But you know, if your hand is over your head and the ball hits it, you're in trouble.
yeah.
And what I thought was funny in the commentary, that too, they were like, "Oh, the referee, he's giving the handball, he's giving a free kick." I was like, "A free kick? He was about 5 yards inside his own box."
Yeah.
So I was about to get, a bit upset at the referee, but it turned out the commentators were just wrong, and he had given a penalty and not a free kick. Because I was like, he's about 5 yards inside his box. How is he giving a free kick? But anyway, penalty. Mbappe stepped up again to take his second one. We saw what happened with Harry Kane when he had to take two in one game. But Mbappe, no problem again, tucks it away to get the first hat-trick, well, the second hat-trick ever in the World Cup final, equaling Jeff Hurst, who obviously did it in 1966. So that's right at the end. But then, what a chance France had to win it at the end.
Yeah. Was it?
Great save by Emi Martinez, comes out to block down the shot.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was. I don't know, was it Otamendi? I'm not sure exactly who was, but almost as good as the save. As the rebound is about to fall to a French player, an Argentinian defender just gets his head on the ball.
Yeah. It was either Martinez from United or the other guy to use.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but my God, that was as great as the save was. That header was so important.
Just there, just speaking of something there, because you said last minute, I forgot about it in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
France got robbed by the ref because there was a foul and they were through.
Yeah.
And the referee called it back because why? Did you see that? You know what I'm on about?
Yes. They were on the break. Kingsley Coman had been brought down, but he got back to his feet and kept running with the ball. Yeah, and it was like 3-on-2.
Yeah.
And the referee called it back for the foul rather than letting them play.
I don't understand that at all.
Yeah. There was also the cross from Mbappe that Coman missed by a centimetre. And any touch on that at all at the end, and it was a goal. France were very unlucky, it has to be said. But then again, France didn't start playing until there was about 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
And then penalty, shootout. I'm one that I love when players mess around on the pitch and, all the shithousery and that. I think you have to be, if it's a penalty shootout, I think a referee, when Martinez starts doing his antics, I think as a ref, you book him straight away and you tell him, you do that again, I'm sending you off and you're not in the shootout anymore.
Exactly.
Because I think it's extremely unsporting. I don't think there's anything clever or funny about it.
No.
I think it's absolutely just very, very unprofessional and unsporting to do things like he was doing. And I think referees need to, I think whether it's UEFA, FIFA, whoever, I think they need to now come out with a rule that if a goalkeeper does anything other than just stand on his line for the penalty shootout, he gets sent off and they'll have to put a player in goal. I just think it's ridiculous. I don't think it's a good part of the game. And I think every time we get a penalty these days, no matter what it is, there's way too much of people stamping on the penalty spot, surrounding the referee and the player, and it's all a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, that aside, penalties weren't great, and I know you make comparisons to Saka, and I'm asking the young fella to step up and take a very pressure penalty.
Yeah, it's a weird choice.
Like Kingsley Coman came up and missed his one, which was fair enough. I don't know why Kingsley Coman was taking a penalty, because as soon as the shootout started, I said to Claire, I said, I really hope Coman doesn't take a penalty, because I just had no confidence he was going to score it.
Yeah.
So he misses. Argentina's get their second one, so it's 2-1. And now there's real pressure on the penalty.
Yeah.
For France. And they send the young fella up to take it.
I don't understand it. Like, it was a weird choice.
Yeah. You've a lot of senior players there. Now, I know Griezmann was off the pitch at that stage and a few other, but you had a lot of senior players still there.
Yeah.
Who should be like, I'll take one.
Yeah.
I don't know how good the likes of Varane and them are at taking penalties.
Yeah, I know.
They should be the ones stepping up and saying, look, put it on my shoulders or what have you, more senior pros. Very unlucky, terrible penalty by him. It has to be said, firing it wide.
Yeah.
And I thought Lloris should have saved one of the penalties. I thought he was very poor getting to it.
The
Didn't
Messi
stick his
penalty
hand
was
in.
very poor.
He should have saved that one. He should have saved another one with his feet, and he probably should have saved the third one where he just didn't stick his hand out fully for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he had money on Argentina to win the World Cup. I doubt it. That's a joke, by the way. If anyone thinks I'm being serious, but
I know, yeah.
but yeah, I thought he could have got to at least 3 of the Argentinian penalties. But fair play, and as Adam pointed out, had it not been for a Frenchman in Neil Mbappé, jumping into Bernd Leno for Arsenal in that COVID season and doing Leno's knee, where it meant Martinez had to come play for Arsenal, go on a great run in the Premier League with Arsenal, win the FA Cup with Arsenal, get his move to Aston Villa, and then become Argentina's number one in that time as well, because he was now playing in the Premier League every week as well for Arsenal and then Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Had it not been for a Frenchman, Emi Martinez might not have been in goal for Argentina for this World Cup, and who knows what would have happened then. Overall, as a tournament for Argentina, I thought they had an awful lot of luck. I know they say you need luck to win a tournament. I thought they got an awful lot of luck.
Well,
I think they got it.
From the first game, yeah.
They lost the first game.
Yeah.
They did well then to get out of the group. But I thought then in the knockout stages, I thought the referee for the Holland game was atrocious. I think he gave Holland nothing.
Yeah.
I thought they got a very soft penalty in the semi-final from the goalkeeper, that one. Modric wasn't happy about it either. Probably a penalty, yeah, maybe, but it's a very soft one. And I think throughout the whole tournament, they got a lot of the 50-50s going for them. I really do. On top of that, France, I say all credit to them and Deschamps. Deschamps changed things. Like, build up to the final, France had a massive virus going through the camp. A lot of their players were sick, couldn't prepare properly for the final, and it kind of showed. But I thought it was very brave to make changes as early as he did, because clearly a few of the players were struggling.
They really were, and the thing is, like, if he doesn't make those changes, I think it's 3-0.
Yeah, and so Argentina get a bit of luck there as well, in that the France camp goes down with an illness a few days before the final. But on top of that, France, if you think as well, they have the World Player of the Year out injured.
Yeah.
Their 2 starting midfielders out injured. So Argentina got a bit of luck that way as well, in that France were missing 3 key players for the whole tournament.
They really were. And they're missing Pogba and Kante, their 2 starters.
Yeah, Pogba and Kante, and then Benzema up front. And I thought Giroud had a great tournament. He did. But Benzema's a different class of player altogether.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I just think with France, I thought they had a great tournament given everything that happened. Will Deschamps stay on? I hope he does, because I think he's.
They say he is. They said he was.
I think it's very underrated. I suppose in other people staying on, what do you make of Gareth Southgate staying on with England?
Yeah, it's a weird choice, but we were talking about it recently. Who's there to replace him?
Yeah, and that I think is part of it, is who's going to replace him, because the obvious choice is Graham Potter, but he's just gone to Chelsea.
Well, Eddie Howe, Graham Potter, the kind of ones.
But again, Howe's not going to leave Newcastle. Potter's not going to leave Chelsea.
Another outsider.
Yeah, but again, are they going to go with Northern Irishmen to manage England?
They're not.
But again, yeah, I think so. And I think, look, Southgate, I think he's not the best manager in the world, but the players seem to respond to him. And I think he had a better World Cup than he did in the Euros.
Yeah, the last World Cup, obviously, they're very unlucky.
Very unlucky in the last World Cup, obviously. But again, I think they've been very lucky sometimes in the draws they've gotten as well.
Yeah, no, I know.
That said, I think England need to be, whatever about the Euros, they really need someone that they believe in for the next World Cup.
I think he's the only man they believe in right now, Southgate.
Because whatever about how frightening Mbappe and all them are going to be in the next World Cup. England are going to have a scary team for the next World Cup.
Is it
They
really?
have so many good young players at the moment that are going to be in their mid-20s when the next World Cup comes along.
They really
Uh,
are frightening.
You know, it is when you think about like Calvin Phillips, how young is he? You know, Bellingham, Saka, you know, what's Rashford now? 25, 26?
Yeah, he'll be like 29 when the next one
Yeah,
comes.
that's what I mean. He'll be back, he'll be right in his prime, you know,
Yeah.
as well. You know, it's going to be frightening. You know, their goalkeepers were all in around roughly the same age, I think. They'll all be like in their early 30s, which is like the prime age for a goalkeeper, you'd say. It's terrifying, really. You think of the players they're missing, like Reece James, who was missing. Obviously, Trent is still very young. It's frightening team England have coming through. It really is. But there's a lot of teams like that, and it's how good the players will be in 4 years' time, I suppose. Anything else you want to talk about the final before we move on to maybe the final?
Just how much it meant to Mbappe and how devastated he looked.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, he's the more I watch him, you see, the thing is, I watch French football, so I watch it a lot. But
Yeah.
because the teams he's often playing against aren't what you consider the best, it's like, yeah, he's really good, but like, you know, he's not against the best players in the world. But then he does it in Champions League every now and then as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, his pace is frightening.
Yeah, no, you're spot on.
I mean, he went on some runs today where you're like, I don't know how he's done that.
Yeah.
Where he's like, seems like he has no space, and suddenly he's past three players. Yeah. And you have like no idea how the ball is still at his feet. Like the camera can't even follow him.
I know.
It's just like there's three players around him, and suddenly he's inside in the box, and you're like, what did he just do?
Yeah, incredible, all right, isn't
it? He's frightening. He must be so frightening when he's running at you. But then again, I suppose, yeah, like you said, very, very upset, but he'll be back, I'm sure. And I think he's going to be in a lot of finals. He really reminds me of Thierry Henry in the way he plays.
Oh, he's that good, yeah.
He has that kind of pace and power and just ability to run with the ball at his feet. Yeah, it's frightening. And like, yeah, I mean, if he goes on to have a career like Henry, it'd be something. But I think he's going to go on and be better again than that.
He's going to be France's best ever player, I'd say.
It's unbelievable, yeah. Because we talk about Giroud being their all-time leading goal scorer. Mbappe is already closing on him.
Yeah.
Frightening. And only the second person ever in the World Cup final to score a hat-trick.
Yeah.
It's
amazing actually to think that what has been 66 since the last hat-trick.
The last and only one since. So Jeff Hurst now has to share that accolade with Kylian Mbappe. You know, so you think, yeah, Messi possibly could have had a hat trick. There was a great block. Beautiful touch in the, I think it was in the first half. Yeah. No, it was in the second half. Messi got through. Beautiful touch, set himself up, and I think it was Campo came in. No, it wasn't in Campo. Who was it? Somebody came in anyway, got a tiny touch on the ball and just put him off, and he sliced the shot wide. I can't remember who it was, but there we go. Anyway, anything else to say about the final?
Just that it was very, very good, and the main thing was that I remember Messi winning, but there's one thing actually that was in my head. This also has the most goals ever for a World Cup.
What's that?
This World Cup is the most goals ever scored.
The
World Cup, in the history of the World Cup.
Yeah, worst defending ever in the World Cup. That said, when we say most goals ever scored in the World Cup, you're talking about the last however many World Cups realistically, because they obviously have expanded the World Cup in recent years. There's more teams in it than ever before, so you're going to have more goals because you have more games.
Yeah, and then it's going to happen again because they're expanding it again, I'm hearing.
Exactly. So as great as it is to have the most goals ever, it's kind of the most goals ever out of like the last 4 or 5 World Cups or whatever it was since the last time. You know, so it's a big deal, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not the, you know, but they like to say that because they obviously want the World Cup. People talk about it as being a success. I think on the pitch it was a bit of a success. I think there obviously stuff going on off the pitch that's a bit iffy. And I thought, though, one of the things I will say, I thought the standard of refereeing was atrocious in this World Cup.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think it's an issue globally, not just in international football. I think in club football.
The
I think,
Champions League and the Premier League almost weekly. So
yeah, I think something needs to be done about referees. I think if you're going to trust technology, you have to be brutal with the referees.
yeah, exactly.
You cannot be afraid to overrule a referee's decision,
Yeah.
no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And I think they should be bringing in people who run video replays in rugby, and they should be talking to them how they do it. Because I do watch rugby, and I think the way that video officiating in rugby works is outstanding.
Yeah. Oh, so
And
well
the
done.
fact that you can hear it on TV as well, so you know exactly what's being said,
Yeah.
and what they're talking about.
And it's done
Yeah.
very quickly as well, by the way.
Done very quickly, but also the video official will tell the ref, look, you're after missing a foul, you're after missing a whatever, you're after doing this. Or the ref will say, look, I thought that was the goal, but I'm a little unsure about this. What do you think? And your man will look at it and he'll say, I think that's the way it should work. I think you need to take the ego out of the referees. I think they need to be okay with being wrong and being wrong a lot.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to be wrong. Because in rugby, you don't say, oh, the ref got it wrong. If like he gives a try and then the video official says it was a knock on, or the ref doesn't give a try and the video official says it was a try, no one afterwards says, oh, the ref got that wrong. They said, oh no, the officiating crew got it right in the end.
Yeah.
And it should be taking that pressure off a referee and just saying, look, we're working as one crew.
Yeah.
And between us, we'll get it right.
Exactly.
So if the ref makes a wrong call on the pitch, I think it doesn't matter if the ref makes 20 wrong calls on the pitch, as long as they're all right in the end, and not being afraid to make, say, oh, the ref got 20 calls wrong.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah, I just, I
Drive
think
your mad.
it does. Because what's happening is it's inconsistent.
Yeah.
Something is a foul in one game that's not a foul in the next game.
Yeah.
And that annoys fans and it annoys the players more than anything else. If you know this is a foul and every time it's done, it's going to be a free kick, or every time you do this, it's going to be a penalty, or every time this happens, you're offside, or every time, in terms of phases of play, if it's consistent all the time, people will accept it.
Yeah.
But it's when it's, 3 games have 3 of the exact same decisions, but they're all different, and the referees are 3 of the exact same incidents, but they're all refereed differently. That's where it drives people nuts, I think.
Yeah.
And that's not to, say it doesn't happen anywhere other than in the World Cup, but the World Cup is obviously the biggest stage of all. And yeah, it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say about the final. Anything else from you?
Oh, I think that's pretty much. I think we got there in the end. It was a great game. Not going to be remembered as the amazing game people talk about, but it was.
It was exciting at the end.
Yeah.
It was. The extra time in that last 10 minutes were exciting.
Yeah.
And I am happy Messi has won the World Cup, for as much as I think Argentina have, had a lot of luck. Is the best way of putting it. I am happy that Messi gets to stand on the title because, he dragged them to that final.
He did. And looking at the stats there, he scored in every single round.
Yeah, I think he's the only player to ever do that at a World Cup.
Yeah.
And you have to give credit to him, and I think it's going to be very hard. And this is something to talk about for some of the players that are coming back. So as much as we talk about, McAllister's, going to go somewhere in the summer and all that, and we talk about the players getting knocked out and the disappointment.
Yeah.
Because Alexis McAllister now come back to Brighton and play Charlton in the League Cup or whatever. You know what I mean? As in, that's going to be such a come down. I don't think he's going to play Charlton in the League Cup, by the way. I don't think he's going to be in the squad for that one. But you know what I mean? He's now got to come back and play those kind of games.
Yeah.
And I remember, because I'm an Arsenal fan, when Germany won the World Cup in the summer, Ozil and Mertesacker found it very hard to get going following season.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Because you're coming off the high of winning the World Cup, and now you're playing on a fucking muddy pitch in the FA Cup third round or something. And it's very hard to motivate yourself now to get up for those games. And even worse, I think, this time because you're coming straight back into it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's going to be very, very hard for the likes of Emi Martinez, the likes of McAllister, maybe even Martinez at United. It's going to be interesting to see how they adapt.
Yeah.
After winning the World Cup. Obviously, the players that lost the final, it's going to be likewise tough for them.
Yeah.
But it's just going to be so hard, I think, for them. Because when the World Cup is the biggest thing a player can win their career.
Yeah.
It happens only every 4 years. No matter what you think of any other club tournament, the World Cup only happens every 4 years.
Realistically, a player only gets to play there 2-3 times.
Yeah, so it is the greatest thing a player can win. It really is. Yeah. It's a legendary thing to win. So if you've now won the World Cup, it's very hard, I would say, to get yourself motivated to go back and play in the Premier League. As professional as they are, mentally, it's going to be a tricky thing to do.
It could take a few weeks to get back and running anyway, for sure.
But that said, I'm sure they'd rather win the World Cup than losing the final. So, but there you go, delighted for Messi. So will we have a little chat about the team of the tournament? If you have your team of the tournament, I don't know if you do or not.
I had a kind of a brief one, but it wasn't. I say we're pretty similar.
Pretty similar, maybe. I went with a 4-3-3 because that's the system I like to play anyway.
Yeah.
And this team would be a disaster in midfield. I'm going to say that now. Because of the players I picked in midfield, but whatever. So for me, in goal, I picked Bono, the Moroccan goalkeeper. I just thought, great tournament. His 2 penalty saves against Spain in the shootout.
Yeah.
Iconic. Another Moroccan at right back, and Hakimi.
Yeah.
I thought Otamendi was very good for Argentina, so I put him in the centre back.
Yeah.
Gareth Vidal for Croatia, I put in next to him on centre back.
Yeah.
Because even though I didn't think he had a great semi-final, I thought the rest of his tournament was very good. And then I found it really hard to pick a left back that I thought was good in this tournament because I didn't think Argentina's left back was great. I didn't think Hernandez was great for France. So I went with my hometown guy. I just went with Daley Blind because I thought he had a very good tournament for Holland.
Left backs are very, very tough. Even when I was looking,
you could even say Luke Shaw had a great tournament at left back, but I went with Daley Blind. Yeah. Then my three in midfield were Amrabat of Morocco, who I thought was just outstanding. I went with McAllister, who we've talked about already.
Yeah.
And Griezmann in midfield as well, because I thought he had a great tournament for France, other than the final. I thought he was a bit off it tonight.
Yeah.
And up front, my three up front was tough. Now, I will say I put Griezmann in there, very close to putting in Bruno Fernandes, because I thought Bruno Fernandes had a great tournament as well.
Yeah, I think if he went to the next round, then he could have really showed something.
Yeah, I do. So, like I said, left back was kind of a toss-up between a few players, and I went with Daley Blind. And likewise, in my midfield three, I think I put in Griezmann, because I thought he was very good against England, especially. But I think Bruno Fernandes actually had a very, very good tournament, especially with everything that was going on around Ronaldo in Portugal camp. I thought Fernandes was great.
Yeah.
Up front, I went with Messi on one side, Mbappe on the other, and I went with Alvarez in the middle because I thought Martinez, who I know you were not a big fan of, that's Martinez at Inter. Yeah. That's Eterno Martinez, the Inter striker.
Not in the final, he was very poor.
Yeah, and he started for Argentina against Saudi Arabia, but I think Alvarez, when he came in, he offered something different to Argentina, and I think he had a great tournament for such a youngster.
Yeah.
Now, I will say Giroud was the other one that I could have easily put in there as the third striker, because again, Giroud had a great tournament. And the final aside. So that was my team anyway. I don't know if you change any of those.
I suppose the goalkeeper, the Croatian keeper.
Croatian keeper was very good. There was a few tough calls in there.
Yeah, I suppose again, I would have had similar like Hakimi, Gareth Vidal.
Yeah.
But I in the centre.
Hard to know.
Very hard to know. Like,
I just thought Otamendi was great, but again, Romero was very good for Argentina.
Saiss was also very good.
Who's that?
Saiss.
Yeah, Saiss was brilliant as well. Probably shouldn't have played in that last game. He was clearly injured.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I think Saiss. And then
I couldn't argue with that.
It's the Croatian lad as well. You know,
Yeah,
the Sousa,
yeah,
he was very good when he was playing.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, it's very hard to
absolutely.
pick. Like I was trying to pick. I'm like you. Like I was looking through them, like left backs. There's
There's no
not
one I would say was brilliant left
that
back though.
stands out.
Like
Yeah,
I picked Daly Blind, but I wouldn't say Daly Blind set the tournament alight.
yeah. I know. Yeah. So France were playing Camavinga at left back at one point.
Yeah, and like Hernandez came in for Hernandez,
Yeah,
and he was the weakest player in their team. Like he was their weak link for a lot of the tournament.
yeah.
Pretty decent in the final, I have to say, up against Messi for the most part. But I didn't think he was brilliant all tournament.
It's like
It's
once
really hard to find a good left back. Like if someone said to me Luke Shaw was the best left back at the World Cup in terms of his performances, I'd find it hard to say no, he wasn't. You
yeah.
know,
Oh no, I agree with you. In the midfield, again, Griezmann was just he. Do you know what? He went very underrated, and he was did a great job. Through
yeah,
the whole tournament. Amarat again was amazing,
unbelievable.
and Jude Bellingham as well. Uh,
Bellingham was a good one, yeah.
just
For
again,
me, I just had to put in McAllister because I just thought
yeah.
just for his performance in the final. Whatever about the rest of the tournament?
It'll be
I mean, I assume they gave Messi man of the match, but it should have been McAllister.
the same forward line as you, but I put in Giroud instead.
Yeah, it was hard to pick Alvarez over
Considering
Giroud,
his
but I
age
suppose
considering his age and everything.
yeah, I think that was a tough call for me to. It was either going to be one of the two of them anyway because
Yeah, it was always tough.
I don't think Harry Kane did enough.
No,
I don't
not
think Neymar really did enough.
no. None of the Brazilian has are good enough.
Uh, no, um, no, not really. I think Casemiro had a decent tournament, if not a great tournament for them.
Yeah.
Um, I thought as well, like I think the players really unlucky to not get in the team are the likes of like I thought Saka had a great tournament for England, but I mean you're not picking them over Messi.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think there was a few good wide players like Ziyech. I thought was really really good as well. But again, you're not picking them over Messi.
No.
Gakpo had a decent tournament, but you're not picking them over Messi.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think there's a lot of right wingers that played very well, but for me, Messi is like above them all in this tournament. So yeah, it wasn't going to be easy to pick. So there are teams I can't argue, I'd say, with any of the ones that you picked,
Yeah.
because they did all have good tournaments. And I think, like, for everything, like, delighted that Messi did what he did, that he got to win it in the end. But for me, still, Morocco are like the story of this tournament. I mean,
Yeah, I suppose you
unbelievable.
could talk about shocks as well. Morocco itself is the biggest shock of the World Cup.
Yeah, I think they've just done so well. So well. And I think France deserve a lot of credit. I like given the injuries we talked about. And most teams, when they're defending their World Cup title, get knocked out in the group stages in recent times.
Yeah.
You don't go to back finals. It's very rare.
Very
Um,
rare. Yeah. No, you're right.
I know Argentina and West Germany actually played each other in back to back finals in 86 and in 90. But it's just so rare. Argentina have won the World Cup now for the third time.
Yeah.
Last time that happened, they let Brazil keep the trophy and they made a new one.
Okay. Might happen again.
So will they do that again? Who knows? Will we have a new World Cup trophy for the next World Cup in US, Canada, and Mexico?
Um,
Who
just
knows? Who knows?
speaking of
I've
all
heard
those
nothing about it, but you
three
never know.
places, speaking of those three places, FIFA were saying today they want to go 8 years time. They want it back in Winter World Cup. So
No, 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 they won't. That's because they probably want to play it in Saudi Arabia.
that's the thing. I think you're right.
That's why. That's why they want it there because they want it in Saudi Arabia. I think. I think the World Cup, like I said, after the US, I think the one in 8 years time. I think it has to go to North Africa. I think that's where it should be.
Yeah.
Morocco, such a great story in this World Cup. I think they should be the host nation of the World Cup, with Algeria or with Tunisia. I think that's where it should go to next. If FIFA then want to move it elsewhere, I think after that you go to Australia and New Zealand, and then if you want to go back to Europe, and then maybe back to the Middle East again if you want to do it that way. But I that's the way I do it. I'd have 20. What would it be? 2030. I would have that in Morocco.
Yeah.
I'd have 2034 in Australia and New Zealand. I'd have 2038 possibly in England.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to go 2042 back to Saudi Arabia or somewhere like that, I wouldn't have an issue with it then. But I think you've got to start moving it around the world more than they have traditionally. Possibly then after Saudi Arabia, I think you've got to go back to South America, then to Argentina or Brazil or wherever, Chile, Peru, wherever you want to go with it.
Yeah.
That's just me. I'm not FIFA. I don't get paid, backhanders to decide where the World Cup is going to be played next.
Yeah.
So we'll wait and see what happens. But I think there's going to be a lot of scrutiny on who they give it to next because of all the
especially
dodginess around the awarding of the last two World Cups.
If it's anywhere outside of Europe, they're going to get hit.
They will, but again, like I said, I don't have any issue with it going to North Africa or to South America. I think South America, because Brazil was not that long ago, might be a bit.
I think Saudi Arabia will really piss people off.
I think it would. I think to have two in the Middle East within the space of 3 World Cups would be a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's something that should happen. I'm not saying it should never happen. I'm just saying I don't think it should happen so soon.
Not so soon, yeah. Like you'd be talking like 2030 or whatever, or 40.
2040 odd, 2042, I think.
Yeah.
2030, maybe 2038 or 2042, I think, if you want to go back there. I think you've got to give it a good 3-4 World Cups time. Not 2 World Cups time.
Yeah.
I do think Australia and New Zealand, especially the fact they're hosting the Women's World Cup next year, I think if that goes off without a hitch, I think then they should be looking at the 2034 World Cup. And then 2038, that's where you can either go back to Europe or you can go back to the Middle East, either or South America, depending on how it goes. But anyway, that's just what I think anyway. Yeah, I mean, highlights, any other highlights of the World Cup for you?
I suppose Argentina losing the first game was a massive shock. Japan was something I wanted to mention because I thought if they were going to take a penalties, they would have went a lot further than they did.
Yeah. There was an awful lot of penalties in this World Cup, wasn't there? Not just on penalty shootouts. There's always penalty shootouts in the World Cup.
I know what you mean. Like there was general penalties.
Yeah.
I thought Japan were just not very good at penalty taking. I guess they don't take them much.
Yeah, I also thought all the penalty shootouts that we had were pretty poor.
Yeah.
There was no exciting penalty shootouts. They all seemed to be, one team would miss 2 or 3 of their first 4 penalties.
Yeah.
There was I don't think any shootout went to sudden death.
No, I didn't see any.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just,
for
me, it was a little, wasn't, I thought it was a decent World Cup. I certainly don't think it's the greatest World Cup of all time.
They're going to say it is, but it's not.
No, it's not. It's it's recent memory and it's recency bias. It's the one we've just seen. I don't think it is for me. It's not the best World Cup I've seen, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Had some good matches in it, but like you said, I don't think we had a good first half the whole tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
And people will talk about this final and what a final and wow, what a was. But like we've already talked about, 3-3 in the final, you'll take that every time because World Cup finals are generally boring.
Yeah.
But it was really the last 10 minutes and extra time that was exciting.
Exactly.
Like, nobody can tell me with a straight face that the first 80 minutes were a good game.
Yeah, exactly. And France didn't even have a shot, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Like, no one can tell me those first 80 minutes was a good match. It wasn't.
Yeah, I might start trolling people that I know that say it is.
Yeah. Well, that is the greatest World Cup ever.
Yeah, I was going to say since 1980, whatever it was. I don't know. Yeah. I'm starting to start saying stuff on their post because there's people there. There are people there I know who never watched football in their life. Are posting this is the greatest football.
Yeah. The greatest World Cup final since Brazil beat Sweden in 1958.
That kind of thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was good. It was. I think as far as World Cup finals goes, it was a good one. I think France-Italy was a decent World Cup final.
Yeah, I know. I remember that one being good. I think the 98 was it 1998 was good.
98 was kind of destroyed because of whatever happened to Ronaldo. That whole Did he have a seizure? Was he fit? What happened? He
Oh,
wasn't in the starting lineup. Then he was in the starting lineup.
I get you.
Then Zidane got those two-headed goals, and then Vieira and Petit, two Arsenal midfielders at the time combined, to get the third goal for France. It was slightly spoiled. And then the next World Cup, the one in 2002, was just a bizarre World Cup. It was really weird. I mean, people think it's mental. Ireland could have won that World Cup.
Yeah, there are not that many good teams. Like there wasn't
There
many.
was very, very poor teams in that World Cup. Ireland lost to Spain on penalties, and had they gone through there, I think they'd have probably had
South Korea, I think.
South Korea.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Germany, who went all the way to the final on the basis of their goalkeeper was just in outstanding form, and then eventually met the one good team that were at that World Cup, which was Brazil, who were genuinely decent.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an awful World Cup 2002. Bit of excitement, I suppose, for us because Ireland were in it, but the quality of the games were terrible. And if you want to talk about dodgy hometown decisions, South Korea's run in that tournament was certainly a bit iffy, to say the least. But there you go. World Cup finals, there's not been too many great ones, and like I said, I think the excitement of this, when it's just over and it's been penalties and you goals in extra time and you the team coming back from 2-0 down, and I think there's excitement in it, but realistically, like, I think most football fans who after the game were probably like, that was amazing, what a game this is, because it was, but it was the last 10 minutes and extra time. The first 80 minutes were pretty awful.
That's it.
But there you go. Anything else to add before we go?
That's it, really. I think it's not the worst World Cup. It's not the best World Cup. That's
exactly. And I think it's a nice story in the end for Messi to win it, and kind of what's going to be his last hurrah.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to do what I said he should do if he won it, which was throw his boots into the stand and just walk away and retire from football completely. Just leave the stadium, fly back to Argentina, and don't say a word, and just never show up for training on whatever he's doing at PSG, and just never talk to anyone again. Just retire and become a hermit. I don't think he's going to do that, but it would be amazing if he did. If that was the last we ever see of Messi in any shape or form. It was him winning the World Cup, and you can't even find him anymore. He's disappeared off the face of the earth. But that's not going to happen. I think it's a strange one. We'll be back, I suppose, when it comes to major tournament ones. We'll probably do a European Championship one in 18 months' time.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night, I think, as well.
But for people who do need us sooner than that, we will be back tomorrow night talking about the Championship, and there were some mad games in that weekend. Sadly, one called off today. Between Luton and Millwall. So we're not going to be talking about
over the weekend.
But a few mad results and a few talking points as well to bring up tomorrow. So make sure you tune in tomorrow night for that one. Because again, there was a few iffy ones. And we could be seeing a few managers change
again
relatively soon. Potentially Norwich being one of them. So we'll wait and see. Anyway, that'll be for tomorrow night. There's definitely some talking points, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Thanks to everyone for staying with us throughout the whole World Cup. JP, you joined us for one of the episodes. He might be doing something special for it as well that we'll put up on the channel, so make sure you keep listening to the channel for that. And in the meantime, thanks everyone for listening and supporting us and that kind of thing, and we will talk to those of you who tune into our regular show tomorrow.